Yo, 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 hitteth them high, hitteth them low. It is No Bull Just Ball podcast. It's your boy Nick Hughes alongside Julian. As always, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing swell. You know why? Because
Why
the
you
World
doing?
of Plastic is around the corner.
Look at look at that. Right over my shoulder, over our shoulder. The classic begins tonight as of our recording. It's
Yes.
sort of that weird start because they're playing their opening games in both Taiwan and Japan. We're not manipulated by the Chinese market on this show, so we're actually allowed to say Taiwan.
Yeah.
So we got one up on Disney. Go us.
Heck,
Yay.
yeah. There we go.
We did it. All right. So we're gonna sort of go through the classic the pools. We're gonna talk, a little bit about each team, each country, sort of what they look like, where they sort of stack up here, give our winners for each pools, sort of run through the bracket format, and then sort of throw out an MVP at the end of it all. Um, Excuse me. So I mean, for me, this is kind of a weird one because with the Classic beginning tonight and starting to sort of look at the scheduling and matchups, I briefed you a little bit on this before the show. I just got to get something off my chest. I
Yeah.
really, 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 really hate not so much the bracketing, but the pool division for this.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's been a really weird pooling.
I feel like this is typically the case of this. I feel like two teams in particular who do not really need a favorable or easy schedule keep getting them for some reason. In the United States and Japan,
Yeah.
it's something that kind of makes me cringe a little bit when you have Pool D is yes going to provide over and over again like these immediate instant classic games. When you talk about Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Nicaragua has a ball club. Israel is weirdly
Yeah, a lot
throwing.
of people I've been seeing a lot of people project that like Israel's gonna be like a sleeper team that's gonna give some people some tough
I would
games.
love, and we'll get into the dynamics of each, but I just, as I sort of break down these pools and stuff, and I'm looking at them, I really have to throw out, this sort of issue that I have, if you will, where I don't entirely understand why we don't do this geographically, just to sort of create a little bit more of parity throughout this. The fact that for me, when we get into the divisions of these pools, you'll see kind of a steep drop off between, a USA or Japan sitting at the top and no clear cut team that can, sort of knock them off in that bracket. It just doesn't totally, make sense to me. So just something I kind of, makes me cringe a little bit there. But
Yeah.
without further ado, we'll start right at Pool A, the teams that start tonight, actually.
Yep.
Um, Cuba, Netherlands are our first
First match.
matchups.
I love
Uh,
it.
yeah, I will say for Pool A, I think we talked a bit about this before we sort of started the recording. Um, Dude, Cuba, Netherlands feel like the top two in this. For Cuba, we'll start there. I got my little Cuban flag going up here. We have a team in Cuba who has always been, incredibly well endowed with ball players. You talk about uh, baseball being the national pastime in the United States. It is for real in Cuba.
Yeah.
That is, they eat, sleep, and breathe this thing. And this is going to be the first year where players are sort of allowed to sort of come back after having, defected from Cuba,
Oh,
for reasons, for political based reasons, wanting to do more for their families and everything. This is the first opportunity they're going to have to come back and sort of play for their home countries and stuff. And we've seen some prominent names sort of come back and some guys who, a couple years out of the league, but still, prominent faces for that Cuban team. And I think it's a very interesting, dynamic now of, hoping they get their flowers. Unfortunately, none of these games get played in Cuba, uh, because it's a trap, but uh, the trap to get them all back. They're still trying to get my boy El Duque. That's what this is really about. Uh,
Is he on the let me I'm trying to see if he's on this coaching staff or not.
nope, he knows better.
He is not. He definitely knows better.
Him and Levon, man. I watched Brothers in Exile recently in
Oh yeah.
preparation for this, and nope, nope, they are
Classic.
not having it. They know it's a trap.
Classic
They know it's a setup.
documentary.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on the Cuban team? Because I mean, some
I,
interesting
to be
names.
honest, before the whole announcement, I figured it was gonna be like, oh, they're gonna be a tough team, but I didn't feel like they could be a team that could
Mhm.
make noise before the whole announcement of
Yeah.
the leaguers. And then as soon as they made that announcement and some of the players started announcing that they were joining the team, they immediately went to like, oh, this is going to be a powerhouse in the tournament. I'm like, because
Yeah.
you got
For
names
sure.
like Johannes Cespedes is making a return, Luis Robert, Johan Mokata, uh, Raul Santos. I think is going to be a big name that not a lot of people know
Yeah.
about. I think he's going to be a big part of that lineup. Then you have Sandy Alcantara, or not Sandy, my bad, not Sandy playing. Ilan Leva is going to
Yeah.
be their top rotation piece.
Yeah.
Elias Rodriguez, like they're gonna have a lot of good names. I
Yeah.
think they're gonna make noise this year. I really like what their lineup and their rotation could be.
And the thing for me with Cuba, the World Baseball Classic and the Cuban team, it has always been very much a star maker, if you will. We've seen
Yeah,
both Cespedes brothers get deals essentially coming off of the World Baseball Classic. You sort of see this, this is the chance for the Cuban team. It always feels like to sort of put themselves on this sort of grander stage, which
yeah,
is definitely, and now especially, I think it's going to do wonders for some of the younger Cuban ball players on this team to sort of have the older, experienced major league talent now, sort of alongside them for the ride. I just think, just in a sheer personal level and professionally, what it's going to do for those ball players is going to be something,
yeah. I'm surprised that the younger of the Cespedes brothers isn't on the team, but it's
Actually,
probably
turns out he's
focused.
he's injured at the moment, so that
Oh,
was
okay.
the pullback because we talked about that I think last episode or something like that where
Yeah,
we discussed it a little bit of why he's not out there and that's unfortunately the reason why. So he's on the IL heading into the season at the moment. Um, Next up we have Netherlands, who is always a
yes.
very fun team.
Last
Um,
the last tournament they were really fun to watch.
Oof, I'm a big Didi Gregorius fan.
Yeah.
My first child. Uh, Actually, fun news for the podcast. I am actually expecting my first child, so that's a big deal. But yeah, my first child will be named Didi, because of some promises I made during the 2017 playoff run while I was sitting in the stands during that wild card game. So,
Yeah.
um, I told the big man upstairs,
Hey,
let Didi tie this game right now, and I'll name my child Didi. He delivered, so here we are. Uh, my wife is
sorry.
none too thrilled.
I was about to say sorry in advance, Sabrina.
Yep, the missus is not happy at all about that. Um, so I mean, it's an incredible team. The way that over the years the Netherlands, and it's weird. I will say a little bit of this for me is weird to continue calling it the Netherlands as a whole because
Yeah.
really it's the Caribbean islands that are um what what's it's not Commonwealth. It's what are they considered for the Netherlands?
Territory.
Territory of the
Yeah.
Netherlands. That's the word. Of Curacao, Antigua, Aruba, sort of
Aruba, Saint
have,
Martin also as
yeah,
well.
have produced some of the most incredible ball players you'll ever see. Guys like Xander Bogaerts, who's sort of the anchor now for this team after that massive deal at San Diego. And big ups, by the way, to the major league teams. And this is something that I will, really just cringe at my Yankees about letting guys, sort of go out and play, exciting baseball, really
Yeah.
grow the game, expand the game. So big ups to the teams like the San Diego Padres who just shelled out $1 billion in contracts and let all their guys go play internationally for this. So big ups for that. Netherlands is one of those teams that I really love. Gene Segura, Miami Marlin is going to be on this team. Jonathan
Yeah.
Scope, I believe, is going to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
This is an
Alderson Simmons is going to be making an
yeah.
appearance.
As I say, this is an infield delight. That's what they
Yeah.
turn out, man. It is
The defense is going to be really good. I actually have it
just
right in front of me. Only 10 of their players on the roster this year were actually
mhm.
born in the country of Netherlands.
Mm,
Curacao leads everybody with 15 players.
that makes sense. Yeah. Here's a weird one because I actually didn't see his name on the roster. Kenley Jansen recently signed with the Red Sox. Famously made his, sort of big stage debut with the with the Netherlands team as a catcher at the time. Is he on
Yeah,
there? He is.
he is not. He's not.
Oh shoot. That would have been I was just thinking to myself that would have been a really fun addition
He
there.
is in. He is in the pool if players get hurt though.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. So then also in this bracket we have Chinese Taipei or Taiwan, which is the host country for this bracket. The winners of the bracket last year, or at least this pool last year. Uh really, really a strong crop.
Yeah.
Uh I'm genuinely fascinated to see, with some of these smaller, obviously Japan is the big, team in Asia that plays baseball, but Taiwan has churned out some ball players over the years.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, I don't know what to attribute it to necessarily, but something's going on. I have a buddy who is living out there for a little bit, my buddy Blake. And he told me it's basically a tropical paradise in freaking in the middle of Asia. So I mean that makes sense, I guess, when you
Yeah.
think about baseball weather. So I don't know how correct that is, but at least from what I've heard, I guess the math's there. But just looking at some of the things that have been written, unfortunately I'm not too familiar with Taiwanese baseball as a whole. But based on what I've read a little bit more of the fundamental game, if you will. A lot of uh, you know, guys, at least pitching wise, they're not high strikeout guys, but they're a lot of ground ball pitchers.
Yeah.
Additionally, a lot of sort of slap hitters on the offensive end. I think they could definitely give some of these other pitching staffs a bit of work and a bit of trouble. We move down into Italy, who is an interesting one considering theoretically how many Italian names are in Major League Baseball that will not be playing
Will
for
not be
them.
playing there. Yeah.
But I mean, again, it's one of those. They're the unfortunate victims in my eyes of some of the names who have decided not to play. Uh, you know, uh, Panama is a country who, again, you know, theoretically could be a lot higher on this list, but when you start, going down their crop of talent and realizing, so much of in my eyes, so many of the players who could have been out there for them, won't be. I'm looking at Panama's roster right now. Uh, you're a guy you're familiar with, Jaime Barria,
Yeah.
Angels pitcher,
I think
uh,
he's gonna have
is
a few rough games, but I think now that they're back in the tournament, this is the first time they're back at the tournament since 2009. Um, to be honest, I think they probably just feel good to be back.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm hoping we're going to see a lot of good young talent in this
Yeah.
bracket in general, guys, who you're not entirely familiar with. Oh, a fun fact about Italy, by the way, that I had in my notes here. Mike Piazza will be their
Is
manager.
the
So,
manager? Yes.
yeah, fun Italian name for us there. Uh, also, I'm so sorry, Vinny Pasquantino will be out there. So that'll be something. And for some reason, Matt Harvey. Just, like, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, do you have anything else for me there with Pool A?
No, I think Pool A, it's gonna be a lot of. I feel like the more bottom of the team are gonna be those teams that are kind of coming up
Yeah,
in the global scale of the game. Like Panama, Taiwan. I think this might be the tournament where they kind of put their foothold and like, hey, we can probably be here every single time, maybe, and then we don't have to fight over qualifiers. But it's just the top two, I think, are just gonna probably just be a little too much for the rest of them to handle.
I like that. Yeah. No, I feel that's a very fair sort of booking there. So if you want to go ahead before we move on to Pool B here, who's your winner in Pool A?
Yes, I actually have Cuba taking it all. I think they might maybe only lose one game in the round robin. And then I have Netherlands being the runner up.
Yeah, I have the same combination there. For me, Cuba, I think the combination of, sort of that first opportunity for a lot of, Cubans who left their country to sort of come back and play for that team and sort of experience that, pride in Cuba, pride in what, they didn't want to have to leave behind.
Yeah.
I think is a big emotional factor. And also, for me with Netherlands, it's a fun roster. It's a fun team. I could see this going sort of either way. It's very much for me an A or a B.
Yeah.
I think call it bias if you will. For me, Cuba is just a fun, a really exciting team. I think that just
Yeah,
dynamic,
and it's a good
you know,
story of
yeah,
like,
it is a
hey,
very good story. And also for me, the way I keep looking at it with the Cuban team is I feel like there's an emotion there where, don't get me wrong, all these, especially once we get to Pool C and D, it's a lot of pride in where you come from and everything like that. I
yeah,
just think the first opportunity, and for some of these guys who are no longer allowed to sort of express that pride because they're not allowed to return in just a casual fashion in a lot of cases because of how they left, whatever it might be. um I just, for me, I think there's something special there that I think baseball fans and uh, people as a whole should be sort of tuned into and rooting for in general. So yeah, same for me. Cuba, Netherlands is my one too. As we move on to Pool B, taking
Ubi.
place in Tokyo, Japan. Games start March 9th. So talk to me about. We'll get to the big fish here. We'll get there.
Yeah,
You
they
got
deserve
something
it.
for me on Czech Republic.
They're just happy to be included. That's really it. I saw something on Twitter. They were going through a lot of the players, and I think it said that like 90% of the roster have daytime jobs that
Yeah,
are included in baseball.
it's a weird and unfortunate thing. I mean, I'm very excited, that the game
Yeah.
exists there.
Yeah, especially the
Objectively, like that's a big.
first time in the tournament. They qualified, which I actually watched the qualifier match, and it was a really exciting game.
Yes, very
Yeah.
fun stuff. They're joined now by Major League infielder Eric Sogard will be a part of the roster.
Hmm.
He'll be the only guy with major league experience. Actually, a fun kind of token here. Georgia Tech commit Michael Kavala, I believe I'm saying that name correctly, is considered the top European prospect, possibly ever, uh, is going to be, a part of this ball club.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's their closer from everything that I'm seeing.
yeah, just strong arm. Unfortunately, with the college season or the high school season and then college, but he's a literal child.
Yeah.
Will be participating in this and sort of seeing him go up against some of
You
these.
kind of feel bad for him with this team of giants, this pool of
Yeah, for
giants kind of
sure.
thrown in there.
For sure. Not the easiest look, but still, I think you're rooting for him to get that one sort of save opportunity where if he can just shut the door,
Yeah.
my God, like what a moment,
Yeah. What a boost of confidence for the kid and
you got to root for the kid at that point. Literally, you have to root for the kid. So I'm really excited about that. In Up next we got China. Um, Again, it's another, China doesn't necessarily have the richest baseball history. Um, that being said, oh, excuse me, sorry.
you're good.
I actually don't even know, looking up and down this roster, is there anyone with MLB experience?
I think most of them play in the professional Chinese league. That's why we're not seeing them.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
seeing any
The only
particularly.
name I'm seeing here that I know is Ray Chang, who's essentially been on, I believe, all of the Chinese World Baseball Classic teams at this point. This is his fourth now. So sorry, not all but the first one. So he's their shortstop. He'll be back out there. I mean, big bat over the course of his time out there. Yeah, I don't see a lot, in
Yeah,
terms of what this China team can do. I hope to see a surprise there or something, but unfortunately, this is
I
one of
will
those where
say.
I just, huh?
I said I will say the thing about China. One of the cleanest like change in their uniforms this year. I
Mm-mm.
really like what they did with
Very
the
nice
dragon
uniform.
and the sea. I thought it was really
Yeah,
dope.
very nice uniform. We can applaud. We can applaud. We can applaud for that. we find the positives. We're a positive podcast, man. We don't like to crap on anyone who's not the Cincinnati Reds. Uh,
Or 20
uh,
Lewis.
or CJ Cron.
Yeah, or CJ Cron. Definitely not that.
Yeah.
No,
So
I feel like they're going to be a competitive team.
yeah.
Um, Definitely. It's just, I think they're probably going to be like middle of the pack. I'm hoping to be wrong because I'd like to see at least like some form of chaos in this. I love it when teams that aren't supposed to be good just play good,
Oh,
and
for
yeah,
sure.
I love it.
This is
And
the
I'm hoping
weird
to
thing
see this.
about these. I was gonna say the weirdest part about these pool plays is like, there's not a 3 game set here. This is a
Yeah,
one-off, you see a team maybe twice, 3 times, depending on the pool you're in. Uh, and baseball is one of those sports. Anything can happen.
anything can
This
happen.
isn't the NFL where the better team should win every time.
Yeah,
Baseball, you win 100, you lose 62. If, last year I think the Astros were the best team in baseball wire to wire. If they got swept by who was the worst team in baseball the last year? The Pirates, the Reds?
yeah,
Are
probably. It's got
they? Yeah, one of them. If one of them swept the Astros, that's not a big deal in baseball terms. It happens.
yeah,
Like, it's oh, that's yucky, but it's not the end of the world. So the way baseball sort of is slated to work in this classic is not, how the game generally works. So I think a lot could happen. A lot could, we could see some of our top teams just, have a bad start and be out of this very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see, no doubt. As we move on to Australia, I mean, my heart breaks again. We talked about it before. Liam Hendriks, probably the most famous Australian sort of player, is still out, unfortunately, with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
yeah. A lot of their
Um,
players are a lot. Most of their players are like minor league players, like Liam
yeah,
Golowski,
yeah,
things like that. So they have a lot of young players as well,
yeah.
hoping to make
I mean,
some
it's.
noise.
I mean, again, though, it's one of those situations where this is a team now who, theoretically the game is growing in Australia. It's a big thing that if I can just plug another podcast, Farm to Fame, part of the John Boy Media empire,
Yeah,
features, oh man, I just lost his name in my head. Former pitcher for Major League Baseball who was Australian. But anyway, he talks all the time about how sort of the game is growing out in Australia, and it's truly something special. As we sort of see now more major leaguer or minor leaguers at least coming up through the ranks, big
yeah.
opportunity to them, to sort of be seen on this global scale. I
And
think
I
it's gonna
didn't
be great.
realize 2017 they finished in ninth place.
Yeah,
I didn't realize they were that higher up in the rankings, to be honest. But
yeah. I mean, they had a nice little tournament. The next team up on this list is Korea. Uh, I mean, this is a team that, I mean, this is the most, how do I put this? This is the most quintessential Japanese ball club ever
yeah,
now playing in Korea in terms of like maybe the strongest defensive team
yeah.
in the
No,
World Baseball Classic this year.
I really like their gloves out on the field. They're
Um, it's a weird sort of like, Ha-Seong Kim from the Padres, who I love, Tommy
mm,
Edman from the Cardinals, I love. I don't like I'm a little curious almost. I don't know if they've released exactly how they're gonna play that. Because I know Tommy Edman is the natural second baseman who's now playing short for the
yeah. From
Cardinals.
everything I've been seeing, they're putting Tommy Edman in second, and then Hase
And
Young.
Haseo Kim is going to short because I
Yeah,
know it's like that inverted thing with the teams they're on where Kim is the natural shortstop now playing second for the Padres, and Edman is the natural second baseman now playing shortstop for the Cardinals. So they're getting to play their natural thing again. I
yeah.
guess
So
you're
that's
saying
everything that I've been seeing.
Edmonds at second, Kim is at short. I like that. I mean, I you know, uh big, they have big bats in the middle of that lineup. Outside of that is very contact oriented, very much a put the ball in play team. Again, another sort of Asian market team where it's, a not a big strikeout club, but it's going to be a lot of guys who generate a
Their
lot of
their
ground
games are going to
balls.
be fun because it's going to be a lot of
Yeah,
contact, a lot of stuff, moving parts, a lot of action.
yeah,
It's not going to be a lot of hit bombs, strikeouts. It's going to be a lot
yeah.
of
No,
good
no, no, for
play,
sure.
running bases. They got
Yeah,
a lot of speed, which is one thing that I'm really looking forward to watching them play. Is just they're going to be moving all around, which
yeah.
I think is the way to maybe upset a Japan or maybe upset because Japan likes to play with a certain pace and they're definitely going
Hmm.
to try to pick that up on them. So I feel like that's good. They're going to be definitely one of those teams
Yeah.
that can surprise them in like the pool games.
Oh, for sure. So speaking of which, we're going to move on to Japan, who is that sort of heavy hitter we were trying to sort of work our way around there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's Shohei Ohtani, but when you sort of start looking up and down this team, Masataka Yoshida, Yu Darvish,
Mhm.
uh, already major leaguers. Is
Uh,
Kodak Senga back on that roster, or did the Mets pull him out?
no, Kodai Senga said that he was not going to participate because he wants to focus more on the Mets.
Okay, but I mean, everything I've heard about,
Yeah,
and again,
Lars Nootbaar is on the roster.
yeah, a lot of
I
major league
really
talent.
like Murakami. I think he's going to be
Yes.
really good. He's projected to be their fourth hole hitter. I
I
really
was gonna
like
go with the who's this? Hey, I'm gonna butcher this. Roki Sasaki.
Sasaki. Yeah.
Sasaki. All right, so he's supposed to be, from everything I've seen and read on him, is supposed to be just like this otherworldly young pitching talent. It's gonna be the
Hmm.
equivalent of, at least from the pitching standpoint, sort of seeing a young Senga, a young Otani,
Yeah.
with sort of what they're able to do on the
I think
mound specifically.
I think this is going to be his classic where he's going to put his name out, and
I
then a few
I would
years
love to see
we're
that.
probably going to see
Yeah,
him in the majors.
yeah, I was gonna say this is gonna be one of those things where he's gonna have this breakout performance, and
Yeah.
teams are just gonna be waiting, and fans of baseball clubs are gonna be salivating, waiting for him to be posted by whatever club he's on to potentially join the major league. This is kind of a runaway for me as we sort of move to our winners.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels like for me, Japan can be one of those teams this year where, given what their sort of matchups are going to look like, and this is where this was my gripe early on, is
Mm.
I don't know that there's a huge, market for a Japanese upset here right now. So,
Yeah.
um, it's Japan for me at the top, and Korea is my number two. Because Korea feels more
Yeah.
like that old school Japanese ball club of, we're gonna put the ball in play, we're gonna pitch for you to put the ball in play, and we're gonna have two big boppers. So it goes Japan, Korea for me.
Yeah. I definitely have to agree. I got the same Japan, Korea. Um, Japan's always been one of those powerhouses in the tournament. There's not been a year since they finished less than third.
Yeah.
So
So
it's definitely the big one of the big apples out here.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so Pool A and Pool B, we're kind of in
Mhm.
lockstep, I should say. I like that. Feel good about that. All right, so we're now gonna jump into Pool C here. And at the bottom, we have Great Britain, who for me is interesting.
First, I'd like to point out the first time in the tournament. So this is the first time they're ever appearing.
Yes, that is yes. So I believe they beat Germany, right, in the qualifier to
Yeah,
finish. Was that matchup?
which is also really exciting game. I'm pretty sure that came, if I remember correctly, it was a walk off. If I remember
Yes,
correctly.
yes, yes, yes. So a couple major leaguers on this Great Britain team that you might have heard of. Trace Thompson, brother's name is Clay. Haven't really heard of him.
That one's
Uh,
really surprising that he's playing for Great Britain.
I guess technically speaking, they're like grandmother or something like that, maternally or
Yeah, because
something.
it's like
I was
25
reading
years
something
back.
on it where it's like a technical lineage thing. Uh, Ian Gibout, Vance Worley, uh, Deshaun Knowles is a prospect I like, Matt Kopernick, and then the big one for me is Harrison Ford coming out of Hollywood to play for this team. That's
Yeah,
something
I like
special.
it.
Yeah, no, it's actually one of my favorite prospects coming up. Mariners catcher Harry Ford is what he goes by. But definitely something special. Love what he does behind the plate. He's for me very, very, very exciting. Uh, and his run in the qualifying games over the course of the fall was something special. 5 for 11, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. He was very much a huge part of why they were able to just really run through those qualifiers. So I love what he's been able to do, on the international stage, but also I think he's another guy who, you know, eh, with these World Baseball Classic things, as you sort of move into the major league season for the next few years after it, he's one of those guys who could really cement himself as the guy that, the casual fan is watching now because of what he's doing. And now he's on a Seattle ball club who, has some slightly aging catchers. Not aging, but, I think he's 19 or 20 or something like that. He can very much be a factor for them with a young
He's
club.
gonna be
So
up there soon.
exactly. So now you start to look at him if you're a Mariners fan or if you're, in that division or theoretically even a team who, might be looking to pick them up in a trade. So definitely something special to watch there. Moving on to Canada. Canada's an interesting one because I did not realize the Canadian presence in Major League Baseball until I looked at this roster.
Yeah, because right now I have the big name that you see is Freddie Freeman. He's
Yep.
listed at that 3 spot. Tyler O'Neill, um, Jared Young, Eduardo Julian. Like they got some names in there that can create some pop and can
Yeah.
surprise some people. Their pitching is honestly the part that I'm kind of like iffy on.
Yeah. I mean, Cal Quantrill was the one that I looked to and said, I he's always kind of this tweener for me with the Guardians just because I feel like he doesn't truly have a spot, whether in the
Yeah,
rotation or the bullpen. But, he's one of those guys who could kind of use this classic on a world stage to kind of audition for other teams, if I'm being totally honest here. It's a shame that Josh Naylor and Joey Votto, who apparently are both Canadian born, and I did not know,
I
are
did not know
going,
that either.
yeah, are neither are going to be able to play due to injuries. Uh, I mean, it's an interesting ball club. Uh, I think it could be a very fun ball club to watch. And I mean, I will see. We'll see where this sort of goes with Canada. Uh, the one who I very much like in all of Canada right now,
Mhm.
Otto Lopez.
Yes, the Blue Jays prospect.
Yes,
Yes.
got a couple of games in with him last season at the major league level. Is the only Toronto player to be playing for Team Canada. Granted, I don't know how many Blue Jays are actively born in Canada. Technically, Vlad Jr. is
Technically, yes, but
born in Canada. Just throwing that out there. But so it's just a very interesting one for me. So, big ups to him. Hoping very much so that he's able to have a big classic for them.
yeah,
And just sort of mount the hype and potentially sort of turn some heads. He made some, like I said, made some appearances at the major league level last year. It's a very crowded infield for him to try to crack, but
yeah.
we'll see what happens there. Moving on to Colombia, and I mean, there's some interesting names on Team Colombia, and I'm realizing now, looking at Team Colombia, that I like it more than I thought I would.
Okay.
So the lineup for me is
Mhm.
objectively attractive because it has Gio Urshela in.
And Jorge
Uh,
Alfaro. Alfaro, I like that a lot.
yes, like Alfaro, Harold Ramirez is just I like my baseball big boys.
Yeah,
I like my girthy
guys.
individuals on a ball field. Love that. Oscar Mercado is a freaking athlete. Jordan Diaz is the A's prospect, I believe. I made some
Yeah,
appearances last year.
yeah, for the Athletics. Yeah,
Uh, so Jose Quintana is going to be pitching for them. I think he's slated to be their ace if I'm
actually,
not.
actually, Quintana went down with an injury.
No,
Yeah, he broke his ribs.
oh, those freaking Mets, man. He just he was just at a nice barbecue restaurant, snapped a rib. Steve Cohen found out about it.
Yeah, I saw that earlier today that he actually went down with an injury. So I'm like, damn, that's gonna
Mhm.
hurt Columbia, which I think their
Damn.
biggest weakness is their rotation.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. That sucks because I was really starting to feel them. I still like that lineup though. I like that lineup a lot.
Yeah, the lineup is gonna be good. It's gonna be fun, especially with the next two teams. I feel like that can be some real slap around games.
Yeah, absolutely. So up next we got Mexico.
Yes, I
And
like my.
man, oh man, there's one guy for me when I look at the Mexican team where I say, could we see the for the first time a WBC MVP and a Cy Young in one season in Julio Urias
Okay,
right before a contract season?
see it. I
I
can see
mean,
you.
my
You know
God,
how big I am with people who play in the World Classic. They usually have great seasons.
my God, what could that be? Looking up and down this though, I mean, kind of a little bit of a heartbreak. Randy Arozarena, born and raised in Cuba, but is playing for the Mexican team, having defected
Yeah,
to Mexico to make his transition to Major League Baseball. Has been very vocal about, how incredible his time was in Mexico, and why he wanted to represent the people there who treated him with such compassion and everything like that. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I really this is a rotation in particular because I
hmm
like Alex Verdugo in the lineup. I like Luis Urias in the lineup. But this is a rotation for me. That's it's kind of a sexy rotation.
it's a really good rotation. I love the names on it, and if they complete
Julio
well,
Urias, Jose Urquidy from the Astros, Patrick
mhm,
Sandoval from the Angels, Taiwan Walker,
yeah.
who I did not realize was Mexican,
I
but
did not know he was Mexican either. I thought he was. I knew he was Hispanic. I didn't know he was Mexican.
noted. I mean that's a sexy four.
Yeah,
That
that
is
is a
a
really good four. And
that
then
is
you
a
have, and then you have Giovanni Gallegos as your closer.
yeah.
Pretty solid. I like
Oh,
it a lot.
Oliver Perez
Yeah.
actively actively searching for a major league comeback at age 41.
And then you
Man,
have names like Rowdy Tellez as your DH.
mm,
I
you know
like it.
what?
I like the team a lot. I like the team a
I,
lot. They're going to be better than the past Mexico teams. And spoiler alert, I think they're going to be number two in this pool.
I'm gonna be honest, that rotation might have just sold me. Then we get to the top here. Team USA is again same issue I had with Japan. It's kind of like the beneficiary of a weak pool.
Yeah.
Um, I wish they did not do this like this. If we have a few minutes at the end, I'll go into how they should structure this. And I just for me, I don't get this. But Team USA is sitting at the top here. Do you know a Major League Baseball player? They're on this team.
They're on this
Uh,
team. You know an all-star? They're here.
yeah, it's kind of like this obscene, like gross talent pool.
It's
The
really crazy
one,
because like their lineup is super deep.
yes,
I hate their rotation.
yes, their rotation would have been so good in 2012.
Yeah.
It's Clayton Kershaw
Well,
and
Kershaw opted out because he's hurt.
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So their
Okay,
top
so no
men, they have Adam
Kershaw.
Wainwright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Adam Wainwright is their top guy. They have Brady Singer, Mike McCullough, and
Lan-
Merrill Kelly. Sorry, my bad.
Lance Lynn is in there, right?
Lance Lynn is in there, but from everything I'm seeing, they're kind of putting him in the bullpen.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. But you know how I feel about Brady Singers this year, so
Yeah.
that was
Their
my
bullpen's pretty good though. I like their bullpen. It's just the starters for me.
it's gonna be a lineup driven thing.
Yeah, it's
Um,
going to be an offense-driven team, which they have it in bounds. If
yeah,
Pete Alonso's your seventh hitter in a lineup,
you did something right.
you're doing something right.
Yeah, that's fair. God, the outfield of Mookie Betts, Cedric Mullins, Mike Trout, and Kyle Tucker in rotation is stupid.
It's almost not fair.
Like at that point, Cedric Mullins is just a pinch runner, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like that's stupid.
You get
I
I assume you to start off is you stick Kyle Tucker out and left. Obviously,
yeah,
Mike Trout, the captain, he's starting center field every fucking
yeah,
game.
yeah,
Mookie Betts is your right fielder.
yeah, for sure. I feel like I didn't love their infield for some reason. Am I wrong?
I like their infield a lot. It's basically the St. Louis Cardinals.
I was
It's
gonna say
Nolan
it's the
Arenado.
corners.
Yeah, it's Paul Goldschmidt is in first, Jeff McNeil at second, Trey Turner at short, and Nolan Arenado at third, which is.
I mean, I like their for this the McNeil at
And
second.
then they
I'm
have
almost curious. Do you try to just throw Mookie in it at second
nah,
to
I think
forcibly
you
play
kind
the
of just
outfield?
let the outfield go. In the outfield, I like Mookie more. Jeff McNeil is more of a defensive than,
I
and
guess.
he's a good more contact driven hitter, especially
Yeah,
from last year.
I
But then
guess.
you also have Tim Anderson and Bobby Witt Jr. on your bench.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Moving on
Yeah,
to, oh wait, before we move on, who's your winner here?
I yeah, it's USA.
Yeah,
I
that's
think the
it's
pool is one of the weaker pools in my opinion. So I have USA winning it, and Mexico is going to be the runner up.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I came into this like really thinking Canada. And I don't know why I was thinking Canada so heavily, but I'm gonna switch it up. And instead, I'm gonna go Colombia.
Ooh, okay, little
I'm gonna
surprise. I can
Yeah, because Mexico, I like the rotation a lot in Mexico.
yeah,
But I feel like the Classic is typically dominated by good lineups. And I feel like I really like the Colombia lineup.
I respect it.
So
I the
I'm
thing
gonna
I
go.
think I'm most looking forward to with this pool is the day that USA probably like kills Great Britain by like 20,
Yeah, just get right
and
back at them. Yeah,
and just going on Twitter for that game is going to be priceless.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Moving on to Pool D.
Pool D, I think, is not arguably because there's no argument against it, is the toughest pool in the entire tournament.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, if you're saying the bottom of this technically is Nicaragua and Israel, Nicaragua is like a huge, when you think about what Nicaragua has meant to the sport of baseball over the years,
Yeah.
produced so many Major League Baseball players. The one that jumps to my head is Vicente Padilla
Mm-hmm.
is like jumps to my head immediately.
And Rod Carew.
Um, Technically, yeah.
Oh, Panamanian. Have it. It's
Yeah,
Panamanian.
no, I was gonna say, uh,
Like,
but I look at, what this bullpen will look like with Jonathan Loizaga, Erasmo Ramirez. I like Carlos Rodriguez. Ooh, that's a Brewers prospect I like a lot. Um, shoot, Osman Gutierrez as a starter. I mean, it's a good ball club. It's a team that's going to be a star maker. I think a little bit. A lot of prospects, a lot of guys looking to get signed. Very young team now that I'm
yeah,
looking
it's
at.
a very young team.
Yeah, very young team. Wow. Love that though, as the game continues to grow there. So I mean, I feel like this is a team who, again, falls a little shy here. Don't totally love, where they end up,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because of this bracket
It's
thing.
very unfortunate with the top three teams and how good those rosters are.
Yeah,
It's going to
this
feel
is
like
a rough.
this team, their record is not going to show what they actually were.
Uh, Agreed. Agreed. Moving on to 2017 Cinderella team, which was Team Israel.
Yes.
This year managed by former major leaguer Ian Kinsler. You were an Ian Kinsler guy when he was with the Angels.
I like Ian Kinsler. I also loved him on my fantasy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Jock Peterson will be out there in that lineup. The rotational feature, Dean Kramer, who's the Orioles starter. We like him on this pod.
Yeah.
Uh, Richard Blyer, Jake Fishman as rotation pieces. I mean, I don't think this is the 2017 squad. I'm a little down on Israel this year. I just think it's an uphill battle. And again, this is one of those things where you're just subject to like an unfortunate. I hate how the bracket is works out.
Yeah.
I really do hate this so much.
This
Like just
is uh
teams,
this is a
it's
very unfortunate year to be down on Israel, but I'm gonna have to agree on you.
oh yeah, no, for sure. They've had enough happen. Like, yeah, no,
I do
no.
like them. Like I said, like in the pre-production, they're gonna be one of those teams that just gives everybody just a tough
I
time.
hope so.
But I feel like they're still gonna be. I don't.
I feel like Pool D will objectively produce the best games every game
Yeah,
out.
I think I'm gonna absolutely watch every single game of this of the pool,
Like
and I
it's
really
going to be
hope
one of
we
those
work
things where
out.
even, when you're seeing Panama versus, a stacked Dominican Republic team who's up next on my list here, you're going to still watch and, theoretically, you're going to see some good performances out of Panama, regardless of what the final score is.
Yeah,
But hopefully you get, good baseball throughout this, I think, regardless. But moving on to Dominican Republic, uh, I mean, I am kind of shocked, with a few things in particular. But one, I did not love to begin with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being on this DR team for me. He's Canadian born. Just gonna throw that one out there. Granted, I gave a pass to Randy Rosarena, but you know,
he doesn't get the pass because he's a Blue Jay.
yeah, no, like what? You're the most Canadian at this point. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't even think there's a
Someone
Toronto
also argued
Raptor
he's the most Dominican Canadian as well.
that too, but like I don't even think there's a Toronto Raptor born in Canada. Like, what are we doing? Like, come on. Like you're the one big four Canadian athlete playing in Canada. Dude, do the thing. Do the
Yeah.
thing when the thing
The
happens.
thing, so the thing with Vladdy, I caught is because he had a little calf thing with the
Yeah, so
Blue
he's
Jays.
out regardless.
He's out. So what I saw is he's out of the pool round, but when they inevitably make the quarterfinals, he can return if there's another injury.
Yeah.
He's kind of like in their injury reserves, which is honestly probably a good thing. If something happens, he can join the team, and then you see the full strength of this Dominican Republic team.
By the way, so small thing that I just want to throw out there.
Go on.
Nelson Cruz being the general manager and naming himself as the DH in this lineup
I love
anyway.
it. I love it.
My man just was sitting there the entire offseason saying, I swear to God, if no one picks me up, man. And now he just gets to sit in. He's probably going to bat himself like fourth, by the way. I'm just going to throw that
Um,
out.
from this projected lineup, I do they do list him as fourth.
He's going to just bat himself in the middle of his order. And the rationale being, he is going to have so many dudes on base in front of him
Oh
and
yeah,
so many better hitters behind him
it's
that
just
he is going to have a crazy, like, because he hasn't signed yet, right? Am I crazy?
I haven't seen. I don't. From everything I've been seeing, I haven't seen him sign anywhere.
No,
I can
he's
look
still
that
not
up.
signed to a bowl team. So he's going to get himself he used this as an opportunity to get himself a deal. And I love
I
that for him.
I do love that for him.
Oh wait, no, he did sign. He was my prediction for breakout with the Padres. He signed with the Padres.
Yeah. All right. So
Look at that. No, he got himself a deal. I totally forgot. He was my comeback player of the year and everything. Not
that's
comeback player of the year. What was it that I picked him for something?
no, it was comeback.
It was comeback player of the year because he had
Yeah.
the down year with the Nationals. Yeah, that's what it was. Look at that. I totally forgot. I saw this roster and I was like, he did this to get signed. That's why.
That's 100% why.
Oh man. Yeah, I love I mean, you talk about when you have Manny Machado at third, you have Rafael Devers playing your I don't even know Can Devers play DH?
I
Because
think
I
they're
guess he's
having
gonna have
him.
to.
Yeah,
Or first base.
Devers. They're probably gonna end up putting him at first base. From this one thing I'm looking at, it's saying that Galinario is gonna be their first baseman, but I assume they're gonna have Devers actually be their starting first baseman.
Oh yeah, Jamer Candelario, Bronx, stand up. Yeah, but yeah, Machado's
This
gonna
team
play
is just
third.
stacked all the way around. This is
Wait, no, who's their shortstop?
Jeremy Pena.
Yes, no, so Machado's
Jeremy
gonna play
Pena and
third.
Wander Franco in the middle infield. You have an outfield of Teoscar Hernandez, Julio Rodriguez, and Juan Soto.
Oh my
On
God,
top of a crazy good rotation, this team's gonna be hard to beat.
the rotation is impossible. Sandy Alcantara, Christian Javier, Ronzi
Johnny Cueto.
Contreras,
Yeah.
Johnny Cueto's in there. Ugh. All right, moving on to Venezuela because
Yeah, there's not really much that needed. We just gotta list more names and
yeah,
tell
it's
you how
just
good this team
it's too many names. Venezuela, you talk about the surprise I think for me is that Ronald Acuna Jr. is playing.
Yeah, I'm glad that they allowed him to play
I
because
was a
it makes
little
this team so much more fun to watch.
oh for sure. Because I feel like this is a very like when I look up and down the names, there's some younger guys in Luis Arias, Anthony Santander, uh, you know,
Glaber's going to be playing.
flavors in it.
David Peralta, I like. Andres Jimenez. They got
Yeah,
a
so
really good
I
team.
was saying, so there's some younger guys who haven't really participated, but this for me feels very much like you know, like a, 2017, this is the team kind of
Yeah.
deal when I look at, Jose Altuve, Salvador Perez, Miggy Cabrera, uh, who, by the way, is one of only a few players to have appeared in every single World Baseball Classic. But for me, I mean, it's hard to root against this Venezuela team. It's hard to bet against this Venezuela team. I mean, this is something special through and through.
I really love this pitching staff too.
Yeah,
Like this team, it's gonna be like so. My thing, it's just between this team and Puerto Rico is who's gonna be the runner-up, and it's going to be a tough battle because this team, I'm looking at this roster, and when they announced the rosters a couple weeks ago, I saw it. And I'm like, holy, this team is stacked.
yeah.
It's a surprisingly good roster. I was not expecting it because I know 2017 they were eighth place, and they were kind of like forgotten about almost in that tournament.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they were able to do this. Miggy can just enjoy it. Part of the Miggy farewell tour. I hope something special can happen, but because my heart lies where it lies, I also hope it doesn't interfere with Puerto Rico.
Speaking of which, way to
Yeah,
segue, man. God, I love doing this with you. You set me up so well. Puerto Rico is the last team we have to talk about in pool play. Last but certainly not least,
definitely.
we return the dynamic duo, unless you're a Mets fan, of Javi Baez and Francisco Lindor up the middle. Um, third base, was once upon a time manned by Carlos Correa. Theoretically should have been again, but
I hate the
uh,
Twins for this. I
well,
really do.
it's technically he's his second child or first child or second child is being born in
Second child.
early
Second
March.
child, but it's between that. It was between that and
Yeah, no matter what the
and
twins were saying now.
yeah.
Because even when he knew what his child's due date was, he was saying yes.
I mean, to me, I feel like the child thing's kind of a cop out for the Twins. They probably I
Yeah,
feel like
for sure.
out there because whether he's
After
playing
all the shit
in
with the
St. Petersburg or playing in Miami, it's not that big of a difference. Um,
yeah,
for me, it's on the Twins, and I really hate them of robbing us of one of the greater infields in the tournament.
yeah. I mean, I love if I'm not mistaken, his Twins teammate is going to be sort of taking up his spot at third base.
Yeah.
Is Juan Miranda still on that roster?
Um,
Did he drop also?
I think he ended up dropping. Right now, I have Emmanuel Rivera as the starting
Oh,
third baseman.
oh, that hurts my heart. Damn,
Yeah,
I don't like that. Okay.
but I still really like this tournament. I think Emmanuel Rivera, names like Emmanuel Rivera and Nefertali Soto, they're gonna go out and try to make a name for themselves. It's a more younger, kind of. It's a weird roster where it's a lot of the older Puerto Rican who have been in the last two tournaments, and then you have a lot of younger
Yeah,
guys. I like what is going to happen, and I don't know. Every time, especially in 2017, there was just some magic about that team, the way they
it
played.
was.
Team Rubio's back. Everyone has
And it
dyed their
is.
hair. I've been tempted to, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. It's
I was
definitely
thinking about it.
thinking.
I was thinking about it too. But I'm just like, I don't know. It's a lot to dye now. Like
Yeah, you got a lot more
it's a lot
hair.
of fluff, and I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm down for that. But the
There's no
rotation
frost.
is really good. Jose Berrios leading it off. Marcus Stroman kind of killed us in the last tournament, so now
Yeah,
he has a little bit of a redemption tour going
yeah.
on in this year, and I think he's just going to play really well. He got Hector Santiago and then Dominic Hamill. Um, I love it. I think this team's going to get some magic. I think there's going to be some magic in the air for this team again.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, the frosted tips would look very nice on you. But regardless,
I, I
just
might flirt with it.
yeah, just a little frosted tip. Anyway, we're gonna move on now to the qualifying rounds from here. All right. So I think we both have as our first qualifying round for the Pool B runner-up. I'm so sorry. Wait, we skipped right over.
Yeah. Well, I pretty much talked myself. I have DR winning it and Puerto Rico as being the runner up.
Okay, I have the same. Um, in my heart, I have to go Puerto Rico. In my it's one of those. My head is saying Venezuela. My
Yeah.
heart is saying Puerto Rico. And considering I just got back from there, I'm gonna go with Puerto Rico. So
A little recency biased.
yeah, a little bit of a recency bias. So we're moving on to our quarterfinals. Our first matchup is the Pool B runner-up of Korea versus the Pool A winner. We both have the same Korea versus Cuba. Which way you leaning on this?
I'm leaning Cuba, man. I feel like they're gonna be just on a roll that they're gonna have a little spark from their pool. Pretty much almost going undefeated, if not losing maybe only one game. I think I got Cuba taking that over Korea.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay. I'm going to totally agree with you. I think Cuba is this team to sort of start watching. You know, we sort of have them coming out of pretty a middle of the pack in terms of just sort of watchability and star power,
Mhm.
pool. And all of a sudden, I think they're going to sort of start flying under the radar as soon as the sort of bracket itself hits.
Yeah,
And at that point, I have people starting to realize, sort of that Cuban might, if you will, but not in the way that, might get me in trouble. But, um, so I agree with you there. I have Cuba. So moving on to Pool A winner or Pool A runner up versus Pool B winner. We both have Netherlands versus Japan here. Uh, I I believe we're both going Japan.
yeah. I'm going Japan with this one. I feel
Yeah.
like this could be a game that could be one of those upsets. I wouldn't
Ooh.
put it past Netherlands, but I think 95 out of 100 games, Japan is winning this.
Okay. Okay, I like that. I like the juggernaut, sort of, this is kind of we have the David versus Goliath setting up for me.
Yeah,
And this is not David. This is just the fun team to watch before David. So Japan is one of my juggernauts for sure. But I definitely have them moving on. As we move on to the Pool D runner-up versus the Pool C winner.
hmm
We both have Puerto Rico versus the United States.
hmm
How you feeling there?
I'm feeling confident. I think this is going to be the upset that is actually going to happen. and I have Puerto Rico taking out US, getting revenge for 2017.
Oh
I
my
have Puerto Rico
goodness.
winning it,
Wow.
and
You
Edwin Diaz is going
are
to
a
close the game for
better Puerto Rican than I.
the.
You are a much better Puerto
Telling you,
Rican than
man,
I.
it's just something about this Puerto Rican team. They were second the last two tournaments. I feel like this could be the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, so wow. That's something.
No,
I have Team USA. I this is kind of a juggernaut lineup for me versus a rotation that's leaning a little too hard on Marcus Stroman and Jose Barrios. The one thing we didn't touch on for Puerto Rico is a back into the bullpen of Diaz and Diaz, the
yeah, I love
brothers
that.
of Alexi and Edwin. And
Diaz is going to show
unfortunately, I don't think this team gets a chance to do that in the bracket itself. Uh, yeah, it's. I mean, I hope I'm wrong if that's any consolation. So we're gonna move on to Pool C, the runner-up of Pool C versus the winner of Pool D. So for you, that is Mexico, Dominican Republic.
yes. I have DR just walking away with it. I think Dominican Republic is just going to take over the game. Uh, uh, I don't think the Mexican lineup just can compete with the Dominican one.
Okay. So for me, I have Colombia, Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Really like Colombia, but yeah, I agree. This is sort of that same sort of juggernaut, thing. This is not the David to the Goliath. This is just the guy before David kind of
Yeah,
deal. No matter which way you slice it. And lastly, oh wait, no, that was the four.
that was the
All
final
right,
one. Yeah,
so,
and then that was the
yeah, so
final
that was
four.
the four quarterfinals. We'll move on to the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
And in the semifinals, you have Cuba, Puerto Rico
Cuba,
as
Puerto
your
Rico.
first matchup.
I will say this will tear our family apart,
Yes, it will.
and this might be one of my favorite just matchups of the tournament. I think it'll be a
Yeah,
fun one. I have Puerto Rico winning it.
I like that a lot. I really do like that a lot. For me, I have Cuba, USA,
Yes.
and this is where the David story really starts to take hold for me because I have Cuba upsetting the USA to move on to the finals. I think this is a Cuban team with too much at stake emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is kind of the biggest possible stage for a lot of these Cuban ball players who really don't get to see the light of day in terms of what the casual fan gets to see. Too many guys on this Cuban roster who are major leaguers kind of sort of left a bad taste in folks' mouths, and I'm looking at Yoenis Cespedes especially. And I start to sort of visualize this and say this has to, for emotional, storyline purposes. This
Yeah.
is the one that, like, this has to be it. So for me, I'm taking Cuba over USA here. I think, uh,
Surprising, but I do like it.
yeah, it's one of those for me. I think 2017 was maybe a bit of an anomaly. I don't think this matters to a lot of the guys on the USA team the way it matters to most of the rest of the world.
I see. That's the thing. I feel like that's always been the case with the USA team. Even when they
Yeah,
had us growing up, they had Jeter, they had A
yeah,
Rod.
they was just
They were just kind of like treating it as like another spring training.
exactly. I was going to say
Whereas
different spring training.
whereas a lot of the teams around the world like revved it up and we're playing like, hey, this is playoff baseball.
Exactly. So for me, I think USA a little bit reverts back to that. I don't know that they keep the mindset that they once had. And in our other quarterfinal, we both have Japan versus Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling on that?
I've been flipping back and forth.
That's fair.
This is probably the toughest one to call. For me, it honestly depends on who is pitching for both clubs.
Mhm. Okay.
I would absolutely love to see an Alcantara Otani matchup. Um, don't know if it all depends on how the pitching lines up.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna have to go DR with this,
Okay.
but that could change.
Okay.
Like I'm very flip floppy on what this is.
I will say for me, I'm right there with you. This is a coin toss, if nothing else. This is a juggernaut of a names situation with the Dominican Republic team versus a Japan is Japan thing. And I mean they maybe take baseball more serious than anyone.
Yeah.
So for me, just for the sake of argument's sake, I'll take Japan here.
Okay.
But I think
This is one of those games that you can't really
yeah,
go.
it's a coin flip. This is I pray, this is gonna feel like our game seven
Yeah.
of this classic. So I'm really excited about that. And then we move on to the finals. Your final is now Puerto Rico versus the Dominican Republic, the ever-present matchup in so many people's hearts and minds in the Hispanic community, because quite frankly, most people don't know we're different people. And then for me, I have Cuba, Japan.
Cuba, Japan. I
Oof,
actually really like that. It's like
yeah,
it's one of the
uh,
powerhouses versus a newcomer powerhouse. I like that change of guard for you.
yeah. I really want it to go one way
Yeah.
at that point. Like I'm so big. I have all the heart in the world for the Cuban team. That being said, Japan or Dominican Republic for me, I think it's too much to overcome for Cuba coming up. I loved their run here. This is one of those like it's a star-making performance for a bunch of guys on that Cuban national team. But ultimately, it's for me. I have Japan as my World Baseball Classic winner for a third time.
Third time. Yeah. That's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to argue.
Yeah,
But for me, I have Puerto Rico making. I feel like this is just the redemption one. This is the redemption one. Puerto Rico is going to take revenge for 2013, and for the next 3 or 4 years, everyone has to refer to it as Becao. It's not Con, it's Becao.
love that.
And that's what's on. That's really what's on stake in this finals.
Yep, that's really I love that. I love where your head's at. And last, we're gonna end it with one. I don't know how you sort of call it here, but if you could call one uh World Baseball Classic MVP
MVP.
for the entire classic, who's it gonna be? The guy who has the performance from start to finish.
Now I don't remember how it goes in the years past. Do they do it just by anybody or by the? It's usually the winning team.
I'm not entirely sure. Truth be told, I don't actually know. But if you have just one guy to highlight, we'll do it that way.
Oh, I feel like it has to be Otani.
Okay.
Otani, because that's been the big selling ticket throughout most of the lead up to it. Is Otani is playing for Japan? Crazy. I feel like if they make the run, he'll get the MVP.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go with the guy who I see leading my Cuban team. All right.
Hmm.
And that is gonna be a guy who we talk too much about this podcast, but too frequently in a negative light in Luis Robert of always being hurt. I feel like him playing for Cuba is going to be something special.
Yeah.
Uh, he was in a lot of people's eyes, Julio Rodriguez before Julio Rodriguez. He was, the next Mike Trout. He was so many things. And because of his inability to stay on the field for a sustained period of time, it has not transpired that way. He's still very young. But that being said, I see the World Baseball Classic as his sort of stage to sort of step up and be the guy in the middle of that Cuban lineup that just says, we're here, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know.
I like it.
So I
I
really
can
do love
absolutely
it.
see that happening.
Yeah. So this has been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I love talking World Classic.
Absolutely. So for at least for now, it has been real. It has been nice. It has been really, 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 really nice. Thank you for doing it with me, sir.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right.